that internship actually changed the way I started looking this profession. People don't teach or even tell you that there is a field called market research or consumer insights while you are studying. Opening a department of consumer insights won't solve the problem. They need to teach how to solve a problem.
Assalamu alaikum everyone, this is Amanullah from Academos. We're doing a series of podcasts on the data analytics and insights industries in Pakistan. The idea is to have everyone talk more about what it is and what is the future of this and what are different companies doing. Today we have with us our guest, Sidra Masood from Dawlance. She is the head of customer experience and data analytics department at Dawlance. I'll let her do the introduction. Sidra, hello and thank you for being with us today.
Assalamualaikum, Amala, and thank you for having me.
If you can just briefly tell us a bit about yourself, your journey, before we jump into the analytics side of things.
Sure. So, if I may start about in terms of my professional experience, I would say that I am currently in a role where I try to positively transform customers' experience and try to provide the stakeholders with actionable insights where they can provide, excellence to the customers and in their, interaction with the brand. So, with that, if I go back to the journey from the studies, I've studied psychology. I did my master's in psychology from University of Karachi. So it's now been more than 10 years that I have joined insights industry and then customer experience industry. So it just didn't happen that I landed, or if I wanted to join consumer insights back then when I was studying, I didn't even know that this industry would exist. So there used to be just a career goal to go into marketing either, or maybe you go to the regular traditional psychology or the clinical psychology side, which I was a bit hesitant to go there because there are a lot of things that you uncover and discover about a human psychology, which sometimes have an impact on your own psychology as well. So there was a famous saying while I was studying that जो पढ़ते हैं psychology वो खुद थोड़े से psycho हो जाते. So that was this thing that was going around. So that was there in back of the mind as well. Hence, I was like trying to find a new way. So criminal psychology is something that I really wanted to go into. I felt that at that time that was resonating more with my personality. The investigative nature and the analytical nature was something that I was very inclined towards. Unfortunately, in Pakistan they don't offer such courses. In the routine internship, I landed in consumer insights. I wanted to go into HR, but there wasn't any internship available at that time. So my professor suggested that you should pursue an internship in consumer insights, because at that time I had to pick few courses, and consumer behavior was one of the courses that the university was offering as well. Hence. At that time, that agency called Oasis Insights, now called Kantar, Pakistan, was offering an internship, and I did an internship with the MD Saima Kamar at that time. So I got to know that there is this entire industry in consumer insights and consumer behavior exists, and is have like multiple agencies, and they are partnering with multiple brands in Pakistan and globally as well, where they are creating insights and actionable insights for different brands.
If you can tell us a bit about just a very brief version of your journey. So you did your bachelor's in psychology, I'm assuming. That was when? This is when?
So bachelor's I did in 2010, and then I pursued my master that completed in 2013.
Right. So 2013 you started your first job?
Yes. In 2013 I did an internship, and then 2014 I started
a job.
Yes.
And what was the first position?
So I joined as an executive market research in Kantar. At that time, it used to be called Oasis. Yeah.
And when did you were doing in that role?
So it took about like 2 years that I learned about different aspects of research, because I was also experimenting whether I want to stay in qualitative research or sort of go beyond that. There was other opportunities in quantitative research as well. However, I chose to stick in the qualitative side of the research because there were very few people who were doing qualitative research in the market. There were a lot of myths attached to that as well at that time, coming from different brands and the stakeholders. So I have a bit kind of a rebellious nature as well. So I thought that why not explore it more, because this is something that was resonating with me as a person, and my studies as well, and my academic background as well. So qualitative is something that tells you about the whys and why not,
Yeah.
and psychology is something is also tells you about the causes of different behaviors and different disorders. So the causal or the root cause analysis is something that sort of merged together when I chose to stay in the
Makes
qualitative
sense.
side of the
And
research.
just to in my head like map out the journey. In 2016, you moved from Oasis to
Yes,
another position.
yes, yes.
What was that position?
I then moved to Nielsen, Pakistan.
Right.
That was a senior executive in research. So
Okay.
I joined there and worked there for a lot of different clients. I grew a lot of clientele over there as well. So this was a similar kind of a role, but more responsibility,
Yeah.
and different kind of an exposure to different methodologies and different clientele as well.
And so I have a lot of questions
Sure.
for each of the journey, but I would just like to map out the journey first. So in 2016, you shifted to Nielsen, and how long was that journey?
So it was 2.5 years.
2.5 years. And roughly in 2018, I'm assuming,
Yes.
you came to Dawlance.
2020 actually.
Okay.
So in between, I did my own business as well.
Oh, interesting.
I did some projects on my own. So that actually was something that was interesting, because I got to work with different universities as well. I was doing some work with the bachelor's or master's के बच्चों के साथ, जो कि
Interesting.
in annual year project होता है उनका, year end project. So, and at that time, I was doing projects with the clients from India and Dubai. So, actually, in that way, in that capacity, I actually had an access to the senior management and seeing the insights turning into the actions and the executions as well. So that was a very good exposure that happened naturally. So it was not something that I wanted to do, because that the entire 7 8 career years of career in research, and then you sort of switch into that entrepreneurial side of it, so without having any background. But there was some circumstances that had me doing that all. So, and at that time that this job came from Dawlance in consumer insights as well. So this is how
Very
the
interesting journey. And
Yeah.
and it has been what 5 years, 4 years, or roughly 5 years at Dawlance.
It's like more than 3.5 years now.
Wow, very interesting journey. And I will start from the education first.
Sure.
I think most of the people in the insights industry, and we were having this discussion with our other guests as well, most of them did not plan to end up in this industry. So what essentially that means is that there is no formal education targeting towards this industry. There is now a lot of work being done in data analytics and IT or business analytics, but not really work towards market research or insights. And the second learning for me was that you end up because of some coincidence or the other. So I would like to understand, and I know you have told me that it was that internship that made that interest. If it hadn't been that internship, what would your career would have looked like? So what was the trajectory before that pivotal moment?
So you rightly said that people don't teach or even tell you that there is a field called market research or consumer insights while you are studying. Now in MBAs they are teaching that or as a course, but back there, because I was like studying psychology as well, I was not a business student. So I did had some courses on research methodologies, because in psychology you also collect data, you also do some research, not just about that particular issue in hand or for the client, mind. But even if you are pursuing social psychology, you have to understand the environment and the situations in which this particular issue or a behavior is pertaining to. So I had some familiarity about the research methodology, specifically qualitative and quantitative. I had that division or a proper understanding in my mind. But you're right. I still struggle to tell my family what I do actually. So it's not an MBA. I'm not an entrepreneur or someone related to directly marketing and brand side. So initially, when I used to go on the field work and the groundwork, so in qualitative, you are leading from the front when so you are on the driving seat of the entire research. So I used to struggle a lot to tell my family and even my some friends as well that what exactly is this title and this
You're not
job.
alone in that.
Yes, yes. Now though I know and I got a lot of voices and validation from this industry.
Yeah.
It's a small industry, but a very, very important industry when it comes to marketing and strategy.
True.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to get to is that there might be some future stars of this industry who don't even know about this industry. So what would your very briefly, and we'll come back to this towards the end of the podcast as well. What would your suggestion be? Because I'm assuming that even if they start a bachelor level course in universities, it wouldn't be too much of psychology heavy. They will probably be focusing more on academic research, that the way that you studied within psychology, or the way that we studied within economics, we studied qualitative and quantitative research. But do you think psychology as a subject is essential? I do, but I want to like understand your opinion. And if so, what would that course look like if there was a market research course in a university?
In a nutshell, we in market research try to uncover or discover the underlying consumer needs. In psychology, we do the same with human needs. So, if you try to gauge or understand the subconscious mind, this is where all the decision making comes from. So, this is something that very, very similar to psychology. So hence, I feel that the field of research is very close to psychology. So if you may ask my opinion, it worked for me actually, because I had that lens to not just see the consumer as a consumer interacting with a brand. I see that a person or a human interacting with a product according to their situations and according to their reality. So this is something, this edge or this additional value comes from if you have that analytical mind and if you have like lens of psychology attached to the research.
I completely agree. And correct me if I'm wrong, but when we started out Academos, I think around 8 years ago, the conversation was mostly being done around the quantitative side of things. And we got the illusion that this is where everyone is focusing on. And over time, we have seen that shift towards qualitative in trying to generate key ideas and insights, and then quantitative only comes in to validate or invalidate those, and just support those when you're about to scale. Have you seen that increase in importance on qualitative so far? And I think you were lucky to bet on on qualitative that way.
Yes.
But have you seen that shift?
When I joined this industry 10 years back, this was never the case. I had to struggle in boardrooms as well while developing new clients and while pitching a methodology to the client. Because if there is a problem, they want to test out a concept or they want to launch a new product or a new service altogether, they were heavily focused on the numbers that survey करा लें या data door to door research करा लें, because they want to have more voices for validation. If you look from their perspective and you try to empathize, that's there where they are saving their lives if they launch a product, and if that didn't work, so they have this backing that this much percentage of the people or the consumer have supported this idea or this service that they are going to launch. So this is something that was the requirement from the boardrooms or the senior leadership of that brand. However, we always focused at that time, my team, and my seniors as well, who were leading the qualitative in all those companies that I worked there. So we're focusing that yes, you can launch, but do you know the purpose of this product, or and why a customer would want to have a repeat purchase or a repeat usage, or so understanding the end user from their perspective. That's where the role of psychology and qualitative research comes in. So the whys and the whys not is something, why nots are something that the clients started to focusing now, because they are now also trying to sustain and not just launch and just phase out, because there are a lot of competition, and the trends of customers are also changing. They just do not want to acquire a new service or a brand for the sake of acquiring, or I've just seen this advertisement, so I should try this brand. So that's not the case anymore. The brand should resonate, the brand should speak to them. And to understand that, nuances, to reach to that subconscious mind, you have to have that one-on-one discussions, those deep dives, those observations. So yeah, so trend is changing, but not at that rapid pace. So it will come. There will be a time that people will be asking for it, but not right now. Agencies and the consultants are still pushing the clients towards qualitative research, because they also want to give the quality work and the holistic solution to the client. So that is why, yes, the role is very, very.
So as an agency partner, I feel that the shift is like gradually coming in. So before we jump into the insights work that you do at Dawlance and your role at Dawlance, I just have two quick questions regarding your journey before Dawlance. One is that can you talk about some of the very interesting projects that you did as part of the agencies and the companies they were for? If you cannot mention the company, at least the industry. And then how was the transition from an agency side of things to the other side of the table?
Okay, when it comes to projects, there were a lot. Like in my entire career, there was someone was asking me this question, that how many clients that you have worked on. So I just told him to to make him understand that like जितनी भी आप ads देखते हैं टीवी पे, in almost all the clients and all the industry. So and then there are a lot of clients, there are a lot of industries which don't advertise. One of them is tobacco. So I had an opportunity to work for this client, and not promoting it, but the kind of expectations that they have, the research methodologies that they are willing to work with you on is something else, because they don't follow traditional methodologies, and the consumer is very different. This consumer is not being persuaded by an advertisements, because this industry cannot advertise as per the laws. So how to go into that comfort zone with that customer, where they are sharing their experiences and how they perceive this product in their life, because this is something that they feel very close. Similarly, with automobile industry, so for this consumer, this is a high involvement product, but the way they choose this product and to make actually that investment is very important to. So in both these industry, they don't focus on product, they don't focus on features, they focus on the consumer, the end user. So that's why both these industries were very, very challenging in order to crack those big insights, yet very, very joyful to work with the consumers.
I think tobacco is also very interesting because of these constraints. They need to like be very creative in order to reach the consumer and without actually hammering them with advertisements.
I'd like to add one more experience that actually shaped the entire approach of my qualitative insights journey. So something that I used to work with UNICEF on their various projects. So this entity allows you to have more creative outlook towards problem solving, because they are not just trying to promote sales or to launch a product. They are trying to create an intervention or to solve a bigger problem, societal problem. Hence, that extensive kind of research and multiple layers of research and methodologies was something that was really exciting to work with, and I've learned a lot working with UNICEF on multiple clients. There was this one project that I'd like to mention that introduced me towards how human-centered design works in actuality. I used to read it a lot because this is very very close in methodology to work with psychology and qualitative research, like a mix of both worlds. So this was something that I got the opportunity to get myself trained from the global heads of human-centered design organization, and they were working to solve a problem with adolescent girls in Pakistan, because in numbers they are quite a lot, and in terms of the challenges, societal and cultural challenges that they faced were like on extreme conditions, specifically in rural areas of Pakistan. So we, with different known brands, come up as a project to how we can help them, being in dairy industry, being in automobile industry, being in telco industry, how these companies can solve the problem of these particular segment. So for that, we all these company needs to understand this segment first. That's where the role of human-centered design and design research comes to in play. So that actually changed my approach, because for all the traditional brands, we try to solve brands problem. However, here we are trying to solve consumers problem or the end users problem without actually focusing on the profit of that brand. So that was something that was very very unconventional and also very interesting to work with, and that actually shaped my vision and entire perspective towards qualitative research.
I think that is a very interesting, and that's the first conversation I'm having with an insights person about how the two industries or the two sectors, the development sector and the corporate sector, sort of work differently, specifically in insights. So we do work with both of the industries and sectors, and what I've seen is that at times it's very refreshing to work in a development sector organization, to not be stressed about the profits, the turnover, and to focus on the problem itself, be it a society problem or the individual's problem, and that just tells you where the actual value of research lies. However, I do feel that there are some really good learnings that the development sector can do from the corporate sector. So the corporate is very much focused on results and actionability. At times, so you do a 2 year long research, and at the end of the day, you realize that, oh, this did not work, let's try something else. With corporate, you can't you can't afford that. So what I learned from corporate is the pace of work, the value of timely insights. And again, with the development sector, I think you have that room to just focus on the problem. Thank you for that. Lastly, just a quick understanding of how that transition felt. So what were the pros and cons of working in an agency versus the pros and cons working for a particular brand and
So while
industry?
choosing to go towards brand, I was myself a bit not sure, because coming from this background and have this entire, leadership and seeing them successful in their research career, I had this vision in mind for myself that I want to excel in this part of, job as well. However, there was the part of me who wanted to work on the strategy side as well. I always wanted to go to and to actually experience how they utilize those insights into the strategy and into action and in those boardrooms. So when this offer came from Dawlance, so I did select to choose to go towards the other side, because I really wanted to experience that execution and the actionability of that insight as well. Sorry. Itself, this job of consumer insights and finding those actual needs and to finding those actual reasons was fulfilling for me itself. So I thought that I can do that in a more impactful way when I joined the blind side, because those and how they sort of connects with the strategy and how different departments uses that. So not just marketing uses it, the entire organization coming like starting from R&D till the sales department and the service department uses those insights or those consumer insights. So the spectrum was very broad, and hence the learning was broad as well. So that was something that helped me transition towards that, and also to excel, because there we were engaged with the marketing and the brand teams, who were the initiator of that research. However, in case of the implication, you are responsible from the product development to the the supply chain, from how this product will be marketed to that customer, and if that the sales impact is coming in, how you are managing it in after sales as well. And the one interesting part as well to actually make those stakeholders realize that how much effort that goes into that research. In my case, that was not a big of a challenge, because the leadership at Dawlance was not that backward when it comes to the research and taking the insights into the strategy. So the platform was there already. So yeah.
I think so. I personally think that in research as an agency, we have it a bit easy, because we our job is just to bring the information and the insight to the table, and if things go well, we can take the credit. If things don't go well,
Yeah.
we can blame it on the implementation. And I think the core stress or the burden of implementation lies at within the client organization. However, I think I actually met someone in Turkey during my master's. She used to be a BCG consultant for there are these home stores, lifestyle stores. I think Mr. Mudo or something, and the owner offered her the position of a CEO, and she got very scared, because it's one thing to just suggest implementation. It's very easy to suggest the tenets. It's completely another thing to take accountability of those. So is it also gratifying in some sense to see that, because at times it gets very frustrating, as agency we can see very clearly what decisions the client should take, and but we don't know the entire context. So if you're in that position, is it more gratifying or more stressful to own those decisions? And
I feel that it's both, because as you mentioned that at agency we feel that this is the job that we were asked for and we delivered the results, and now they should implement directly. So this is not the case when you are at the side of the table, because you need to understand the business reality of it as well, how these insights can sort of create a conflict between the already strategies that were there already.
yeah.
So the amount of action, the amount of insights that we take into that strategy, that is the business decision. And I think this is where the actual role of the strategist is, that how you are sort of executing those insights, and not just how, because that agency also has a limitation, because they do not know the
Entire
ways
context,
of
yeah.
working at the brand. They just know the problem set.
Yeah.
So the entire the other side of the picture is something that is really important, how this research person and the marketing person communicates and creates a narrative in turn with the internal stakeholder. That matters a lot, whether it comes to consumer advocacy within the organization, and how they tells the story and not just the number. Because at the when you are in the boardroom with the senior leadership and the stakeholder, you can just influence with the number, but if there isn't any story, how can they implement? So sometimes what I learned as well, the agencies don't focus onto that. They just focus and emphasize how robust was the methodology and how the customer wants it. But if it is a fit with the current scenario, because taking into account and making a radical change or a very sudden change is not possible for all the businesses, and you just studied one part of that journey. You don't understand the how this this person or this brand is communicating on other touch points.
Yeah.
So I think that's the missing link that I found from this side.
And very interesting. I would like to jump to the second section, and I think we have taken a lot of time in the journey, but I want to focus on the insights industry themselves. What is it, and how are things being done? Firstly, if you can just briefly talk about Dawlance, and just summarize what is Dawlance, its journey, and what is its relationship with Archelic. So just for the viewers' context, and then talk about your role at Dawlance.
So Dawlance, as everyone knows in Pakistan and even abroad, that it's a home appliance company, and now it's also an electronics company due to the expansion of the nature of product that we produce at Dawlance. And I just give you an example. When previously I used to do research, or in any research, we asked about any media habits or any entertainment habits. So when I used to, since I used to moderate as well, so when I used to ask the participants, have you seen any ad, any memorable ad that you can mention? So they used to always mention that yeah, there's an ad called Dawlance Reliable. So I didn't actually know at that time that I will end up in that company, because um, in my case, I always interacted with this industry at my home, but never was a decision maker. So I didn't know actually that how things works in this industry. So that was again a very a great learning curve to understand this side of the agency. So at Dollars, yeah, as I mentioned that it's a known company, it's a household name. I'll talk about the vision and where the point where I joined Dollars, how I felt and experienced the environment and the culture over there, or the vision that I experienced, other than what is just written on that document that this is the vision. So what I felt that there are a lot of and as you mentioned about the connection or the acquisition from the Archelic, so we are now wholly owned subsidiary of Archelic. So under which representation, what I learned is that the three focus areas that Dawlance was focusing when I joined Dawlance, what in terms of my experience, was a lot of focus on on the development side, or the research and development side, and to bringing in new technologies to Pakistan. So they were investing heavily on the R&D and the engineers, and how to shape up the differentiation in Pakistan when it comes to home appliances. The other side was the consumer centricity bit, because all of those technologies that they were bringing in has to be aligned with the needs of Pakistani market, and how they will going to adapt it with the weather situation or the cultural situation or the practices that we have in Pakistan. Because home appliances is something that is not just one person's decision in the household in Pakistan. The entire family interacts with different home appliances. Hence, in order to understand those end consumer and the end user, so they were investing heavily on understanding consumer, understanding their behaviors and their attitudes. So hence these both areas, as I mentioned, both R&D and the focus on towards insights, were comes under a single umbrella, that is consumer centricity. So this is something that this was not just a buzzword when I joined there. So this is something was part of the DNA of every person walks in that company. So starting from the leadership and even the global leadership as well. So this is not just a vision, this is actually the practice, day-to-day practice. So in those discussions, there were a lot of involvement from the insights people when it comes to launching a new product, developing a new service, or maybe creating a new channel altogether. How this product, channel, service will interact with the consumer or the end user is something that they really were concerned when I joined.
Sorry. You joined in 2020, and when was this acquisition complete?
It happened before when I joined Dawlance. So
Before
it
you-
happened 2016, 2017.
So you joined when the transition
Yes,
was
yes.
done, or was in the process of being done?
It was in the process, still in the, like, it is completely own, but the
Transition,
cultural alignment
yeah.
and everything is still going on. It will continue.
But I think the one, I'm assuming one impact of this would be that there are a lot of new areas where Dawlance did not exist before, but it can exist now because of, as you mentioned, the electronics category, etc. So that I'm assuming would also have led to a lot of more work for the insights department.
Yeah, yeah.
So I want to understand what you joined as a customer insights person, and now you're a customer experience person. So I want to understand, when you joined, what was the role? Actually, before that, sorry, what would you say is the primary vision or goal of Dawlance currently, or in the next 4 or 5 years? Is there something that the entire company is moving towards? It must be some revenue targets, but is there something other than those as well?
Yes, there is actually, and that actually makes me joyful and grateful, because this is something that I was really, really impressed when I joined, because at that time it was actually a very happening time, because they were creating a new purpose altogether. When I joined, there was this COVID situation. So what we learned, that the customer trends of the buying patterns and the usage patterns of home appliance were changing, and there was this continuing inflation trends as well.
Yeah.
If you see the economic background as well. So at that time there was a lot of discussion happening from the global teams and the local teams as well, that we need to shape up the purpose, or the revamp the brand purpose or the company's purpose as well. At that time, we did do some research in order to understand the customer's pain point at that time, and not just related to home appliances, but what do they actually look for when they are interacting with a brand. So what we felt, or we sort of learned from that different insights, that customer wants to feel empowered while using the brand. So brand the role of the brand is a supporter or enabler, in order for them to feel empowered, and not just leading them the other way. So you need to understand the customers or the users ecosystem, and the brand needs to sort of evolve into that. So we learned this, and we learned at the right time actually. So we developed this new purpose called Progress Today, Preserve Tomorrow, and there's no mention of brand. And why? Because at the same time we saw a lot of climate change happening globally and in Pakistan. So Pakistan was also one of the sufferer from the climate change. Being in home appliance company also has a lot of responsibility of energy consumption and everything. So you are in a way contributing to that.
So progress today,
So,
preserve tomorrow.
under which, as you asked me, the vision.
Yeah.
So, the vision is to, under this umbrella of Progress Today, Preserve Tomorrow, how Dawlance can help and enable the customer to progress and preserve their tomorrow. So, this was the actually the big idea, where we sort of changed the entire purpose and revamped it. So not just focusing on the product now, we are focusing on the customer. This entire vision and the purpose is very, very human centric, and not brand centric. So this was the first shift that I saw when I joined. So I was luckily part of it, in terms of exercising those insights, and being creating the strategy behind this purpose.
If I may, can we say that in the past, most of the branding or marketing was very much focused towards a particular product or brand, including Dawlance Reliable Hair, so focusing on Dawlance. Now we are focusing more on how we can enable consumers to progress and preserve tomorrow. So the focus shifts to the consumer or the.
Exactly. So while being reliable, how can
Yeah.
we give them the experience of progress, and help them preserve their tomorrow as well?
Interesting.
So that was the key
So it's
insight.
not it's not about the brand
Yeah.
now. It's about how we can support and help the consumers.
Yeah.
And so this shift also would mean that all of the decision making are then guided by this frame of mind, including your production, your R&D, and your channels and sales including. So how has the role of your department evolved over time? Was it focusing more towards again the how they are feeling about brand then and now? So I just want to understand, has that role also evolved,
Yes.
the department's role?
So in terms of the, as you mentioned, that the entire organization have changed or shifted the direction. I will not use the word change because they were somewhat aligned to this already. That's why they were able to crack that to the upper level. However, we did shifted our focus towards that and how we can help them with our advertisements, with our product, with our technologies to help them progress. And to progress, you need to focus on your goal, and if the appliance is helping you towards that, that will be a success for the product and the brand as well. So yes, in my department as well, we try to focus more on the underlying needs of the customer rather than just understanding the feature and the performance of the product. So the entire focus or the methodology or the approaches were not just to talk to the customer about the product, well, however, to understand their ecosystem, how they interact with the product, and how this product is enabling them to feel empowered and feel working towards the progress.
So I would like to jump into the work itself because I think people who are not from this industry might find this confusing that okay, we understand what you're doing, but how do you do it? What are the actual work that you do? So if you can talk about some of the methodologies, do you go out and survey people? Do you go talk to them in a qualitative setting? What are the different methodologies that you employ or you employ through different agencies? And also, so if you can maybe share a case study of like one example, one problem, one challenge that you faced, and how did the entire like end-to-end project or research that you conducted helped in resolving that? That will just give the respondent some idea of how the work is actually being done.
Okay. So yes, there are a lot of shift in the approach when it comes to consumer insights and customer experience when it comes to home appliance industry, because this is not an impulse category altogether. So we cannot see and recruit the customer based on that. So you have to have certain filters when it comes to this industry to have a high involvement product. When it comes to, so this is the approach when this product interacts 24 hours with you. Even though if you are like consciously using it or not, the AC is there, the refrigerator is there in the background. So the product is there. So once you have the product, you can experience it for the maybe the lifetime, or to have like for a number of years. So with that, we also understand with these products, this brand also have the access to the customer's house, because different appliances has a lot of different habits and end users around it. So you cannot just have them interviewed and understand what is their perception about a feature or is their perception about this brand. You have to understand their behavior. So behavioral insights is something that I focused more towards when it comes to having a different approach in this industry. So how they interact at the point of sale. So the moment of truth is something is very very different when you have a one-on-one interaction with the customer, that how they feel about this brand or this product. So I felt that there is a gap when you just talk. So you need to observe, you need to see the actual behavior. So
is that a part of your research methodology that you go into
yeah,
the houses and
yes,
observe their behavior?
yes. So yes, we do that, and not just that, there are other opportunities as well. So maybe you can see their digital behavior as well. So where they're organically sharing their opinions. So this is something that could be a very very huge stream of data, and where you can sort of learn their behavior naturally or organically without even asking the question. So
Could you talk about a case study or some project that made you understand a new thing about the consumer, anything about the consumer that you did not know before or the company did not know before, and you learned it through some research methodology?
Yes, there is one learning that I, sort of discovered or identified throughout the course of my career at Dawlance is since it's being a high involvement product, customer just don't, think that I need to buy and just go to that store or the website and buys it. So there's an entire journey of that product purchase is something that was very, very eye-opening for me because where I discovered the role of omni-channel, communications and omni-channel journey of the customer. So they just so your itself your website or your digital footprint is something that customer wants to interact when they are in the decision making phase. And when it comes to the actual purchase, since still in Pakistan it's a high involvement product, people want to go to that physical store and have the experience over there and to actually touch and feel the product. So still, so this is something that was a very new learning for me because from different industries people have like their impulse purchase, they know, or they are making, even in case of online they're making repeat purchase. Here you will have to stick with this product or the appliance at least for 5 and 10 years. So hence this journey is very, very complicated. So different touch point needs to have different kind of content and different kind of innovation that sort of drives the customer towards the conversion or their decision making process. Hence this journey can't just be done online or on offline. So there has to be mix of both the channels. Hence this concept of omni channel, retail and omni-channel learning and insight was something that I worked and I'm still learning. That what is the kind of content that they want to see in offline environment versus an online environment. So what exactly part of this decision making done is being done on online, and which is still is left to do at the offline channel.
This is very interesting because before, we are currently in the process of deciding a refrigerator, and I realized that from self reflection that most of the products I buy now I have shifted to online purchase. But when it comes to these long term purchases, even if I don't want to purchase from an offline channel, I still want to at least go and experience once, and then I'll go back and maybe order it online. So, if you're seeing an increase in e-commerce sales, that does not necessarily means that offline relevance is going down. Probably it's just that you need, again, I think once you study it, you understand exactly what the channel looks like.
Yeah, because this is a new phenomena for this side of the industry, the home appliance industry. Because pre-COVID, this was never the phenomena. People used to go with their families, and if they want to buy for their house, they used to go to that actual, if you are in Karachi, you go to that Sadr market or the Hashu market to understand different the landscape first, because you are not yourself gets involved until you have the need.
True.
So this is not something that is coming to your feed every day, or you interact on social media a lot. So at the time of COVID, the entire phenomena has changed, and the marketplaces started to offering those products in an online environment. All those dealers or retailers who were used to sell from their shop floor have moved to their online businesses, and then the brand had to move to the online channel. But this journey, how customer interacts on online versus offline, was still a mystery. So that we uncovered, and what part of the journey is being done online and which part of the journey is being done still offline, and how we can sort of convert from the awareness to the different funnel of the entire journey to actually make them purchase the product online. So and also it will help the brand to sort of minimize the influence of the retailer as well.
Yeah.
So how this experience sort of we can create an omni-channel experience, because for customer they do not consider these two channels apart. For them,
Exactly.
one is a source of information and the other is a source of purchase.
Yeah.
So a brand needs to use that lens as well, and do not just think of those two channels apart and different from each other.
Interesting. I would just like to understand one challenge before we move to the industry. I think we've worked with different companies that work on the distributor model, and there are some challenges related to that model itself. It gives you scale, it gives you reach. However, you lose a bit of control of what your brand experience looks like, and also a bit of clarity on what the consumer purchasing behavior is. So, for example, we worked in the mattress industry, in the paints industry, in FMCG, and they're all heavily dependent on the distributors and the retailers if they're not owned by the brand itself. So, if you don't have that data to tell you what the consumers are doing, what the consumers are purchasing at the end of the day, how do you fill that gap, and how do you fill that gap of ensuring that the customer experience is consistent everywhere, even if you don't have control over all of the channels?
I don't know. I will answer it in not a very elaborated manner, because this is something that will, I think, will a conflicting area from the
Okay,
sales
sure,
side of the
sure, sure.
organization. But for the sake of to collect customers' feedback, where brand has full control, we have our own service channels as well, and how we sort of get connected with the customer right after they have the purchase. So the post purchase channel is being operated by the brand. So the data, the experiential data can be gathered over there
That makes
from
sense,
there as well.
and that is how you can take actionable steps in
Yes.
standardizing the customer experience as well,
Yes.
and taking necessary actions. Okay, I'll move on to. I think I'll combine two different questions. One was around Dawlance and one was around industry. But I want to understand, how are the technologies and methodologies evolving now? So we saw that significant change in COVID and then inflation, both in our research methodologies and also the consumer behavior. But do you see a change now? Specifically, I think AI is being thrown around as a buzzword, but do you see actual change in how we do research, how we conduct research now, and maybe talk about some future trends?
So it's not just about how we conduct research, it's about how we can collect different voices. So to the decision makers, and for the decision makers, because research is one aspect of that entire mix. But you have a lot of internal data as well. You have a lot of experiential and feedback data from your customers through your internal channels, where you collect data and their feedbacks. So that all together will give you an insight about how the customer is feeling and perceiving about your brand. So so this is one. And as you ask about the new methodologies, is something, digital is something that we have been listening throughout my, like since 10 years, that is a future, but it's not a future anymore. It's the present now. And the COVID has clearly defined the new approaches for this industry as well. So having said that, yes, we have been acquiring a lot of digital sources of collecting data, and in order for us to have more clarity of all those data points coming in, AI is something, and automation is something that helped us understand those different data points, and to create insights on a more quick manner.
So I think what we have experienced, one of the benefits, actual on-ground benefits of using the AI technology, specifically the LLMs, is that I feel that now you can possibly do a quantitative analysis on qualitative data as well. Previously, uh, I think as agency, you felt really, you used to give a lot of pushback when the client wanted to include qualitative questions, because that meant that it will be a very messy and long, difficult task to analyze their data. But now with LLMs, you can possibly do a quantitative analysis on qualitative data as well. That is one area I think I feel is going to change, if not has already changed, how the research is going to be done. For example, if you're just having a conversation such as we are right now, we could possibly do some quantitative analysis on what words are being spoken, and not just keywords, but also trying to understand what we are talking about, and what are the key outcomes of that. Do you think that is going to significantly change how we do research in the future? And if there are other areas that I'm perhaps not looking
Yeah,
at it?
so whatever the approach that we are trying to acquire is we sort of need to answer the stakeholders' problem. If we shift our focus from the methodology itself towards the actual problem that the stakeholder is having, we will maneuver towards the methodology. And in an ideal scenario, we should be using hybrid model, not just either the quantitative or the qualitative analysis. So AI is something that will help towards first understanding the need of the stakeholder or the end user of those insights, so that you can create the UX UI according to that end user and according to and tailored to their needs as well. Yes, so there will be a lot of use of automation in order to get qualitative data out of quantitative, and the other way around as well. So that's where the previously lacking, human skills will so AI will be filling that gap. So yes, there will be need of the human interaction for the analysis and for the creating the story out of it. However, the use of automation and the AI in order to create data points and a different data points that like humanly is not possible, will again help the end stakeholder.
I think one of the key points I take out of your response is that the focus, where should the focus be? I think it's very like you look very fancy if you're talking about the new technologies. But if the focus is on the technology, then you won't be answering the questions, or you will be answering the wrong questions. The focus should be on what do you want the answer to, and it could be the case that AI is not the right tool for a particular question to be answered. And I think that is something I take out from this. Other than AI, are there any other so is there any other evolution taking place in insights, and how is um, it is applied differently now? So you mentioned that you shifted from insights to customer experience. So what is the difference between insights and experience, and how is that changed over time?
When I moved there, so I used to think that consumer insight is something that is enough for the brand or enough for the team to take the decision. However, what I felt is that experience side or the customer experience is an end-to-end approach, rather than you are not just solving the brand's problem. With experience, you're solving the customer's problem. So it just shifted the entire lens, how I used to see the problem or the need of the research. So yes, consumer insights is an input for the experience, but customer experience not just have to find the why of the problem, but have to solve it for the stakeholder and the end user as well. So it goes both for the internal stakeholder and for the end user as well.
With customer experience, we are talking about the end-to-end journey. So
Yes.
it is pre-purchase, purchase, and post-purchase.
Yes.
That's a huge.
And even beyond.
Okay. So and insights is it's essentially just
You're solving a specific problem
Yeah.
with that insight.
And can you give an example of how your role has changed? So, what does a day in the life of a customer experience person looks like versus a consumer insights person, for the sake of someone who wants to maybe pursue this role?
I think drawing the differences will not be a very good representation. However, I can in how sort of insights can be incorporated into the role of experience. I will add more towards that. So in a typical day, my team and I are working towards a different customer journeys in order to sort of solve the pain points that we faced or sort of evaluated under that customer journey. So when I say customer journey, as you mentioned, that it could be of the pre-purchase, that's the entire different journey, that if this person wants to purchase the product. So the journey starts where this need arises, and even before the need arises, where they are subconsciously just thinking of having or buying a new product or a new appliance. So how this person interacts with different touch points, and then the experience at that specific touch point, and the role of brand interaction, the role of communication and the content, and itself how the person or the segment has the preconceived notions. So both together creates their experience and the brand's experience as well. So my team tries to and I told tries to solve this problem, and we not just listen to the external or the customers' voices, we also listen to the internal voices as well, because that's how we can come up with a more robust and wholesome solution for the customer, rather than just listening to the one side of the story, because not everything can be done or can be executed based on the customer's need. We have to have that balance within the organization, and between customer and the organization as well.
That makes sense. I think most of the researches that we do, if they're just answering the obvious questions that cannot be implemented, they're not really good at anything. So if at the end of a research project says that okay, customers wants to the prices to go down, so that's not really an outcome. I would just like to transition into the final bit of the podcast, and I would like to take your suggestions from your experience for different stakeholders within Pakistan. So firstly, I would like you to share your suggestion or feedback on the insights industry right now. It could be the client side or the agency side. What do you think that we should be doing as an industry, and what do you think that we are not doing or should be doing as an industry?
What I felt is that we need to have a room of customization based on the business, because agencies, previously where I used to directly work with the agencies, have this understanding of the methodology according to the nature of the problem, not the nature of the business. So they need to focus or understand more what the end user or the end client is asking for, not just the problem itself. So they need to see the problem from different lenses and different angles as well. So this is something the consultants जो नए आ रहे हैं इस तरफ can have this fresh approach towards the traditional ways of research.
So, are you saying that traditionally what happens is that whenever a client comes up with a problem, our instinct as an industry is to just give you the off-the-shelf product that works everywhere and say, okay, आप BHT करा लें, आप ये करा लें, instead of focusing on maybe coming up with something new that answers or tailors the response.
One more approach what can be done is to sort of utilizing and using clients' own data, the internal data, and sort of aligning it and collaborating with their external voices. So that will be a more robust sort of data analytics from the agency side or the research partner, because that will give the holistic approach to the entire problem solving.
I think I would like your feedback on a similar problem that we faced as an agency. So we are not from a traditional research agency background. That was a positive and negative thing for us. But specifically when we go to clients that have been conducting research in a traditional manner for the past 20-25 years, we also faced a certain resistance to new ideas. What do you think would you suggest to the client side of things as well? So I understand as the agencies or consultants, we need to not focus on, even though it's just easier to just plug and play different products, we need to take account the context of the client. But do you have any suggestions, now that you have experienced both sides, how the other side of the table need to evolve, or if you think that that's not the case?
The new generation, the people coming from the insight industry towards the brand, maybe not having this problem that the traditional persons coming from different department of that similar organization comes to that role. So if that's the case, there will be a bit redundant to go for a new methodology, because they themselves are learning these methodologies coming from different departments of that same organization.
So it's like having a very small agency within the
Yeah,
company
yeah,
instead of moving around. I
yes.
think that's very interesting take, because I see the two or three different categories of clients that we have. One is someone who came from a very research background, and they mostly try to apply what they've learned, but also evolve gradually. But there are also people who shifted departments, and they bring in a very a richer perspective to things, instead of focusing only on research. So maybe someone who has moved around in 3 to 4 different areas, domains, specifically the brand side, the sales side. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I was saying that if that person is unfamiliar with the traditional research, they will try to stick to the traditional
Yeah.
methodologies for in
Okay.
the first place. And if this person is again coming from the research side, they are familiar with the traditional method, they would want to experience an experiment with the newer methodologies.
That makes sense.
So that is what I have experienced. I felt that it can't be true for everyone, but this is something that
No, I think what you have shown is another perspective of things, but my experience has been different. So I think this
that
is
will come.
yeah.
So sorry to cut you.
Yeah.
So this experience that you have mentioned mainly comes drives from the senior management.
Right.
So if that the person who is heading the department and have different movement within the organization knows where the data is and how to utilize that data in different departments, so they will be more willing to experiment with new methodologies, as compared to someone who is coming from the from the who is laddering up, and just knows the traditional methodologies, will try to be more safe and secure with the traditional
That makes
methodologies.
sense. And yeah, I've seen both type of category of people, and I think with Dawlance, I see that your experience in traditional research companies did not limit you from trying new things. It enabled you to try new things as well.
Yeah.
My second question is that what would your suggestion be to the universities? My like the obvious answer is that they should start a market research course, but how can we sort of create a culture where at least we don't rely on luck for people to end up in this industry?
I feel having or opening a department of consumer insights won't solve the problem, because consumer insights or market research itself is a problem solving tool. They need to teach how to solve a problem and how to understand the end user or the end beneficiary of that service or the product. So if this approach is sorted, they will go for market research in order to understand and in order to design that experience for that user. So hence we need to more focus rather than just adding up to the numbers or the revenue of that organization. We need to understand the person we are selling the product to. I think that the business studies need to incorporate that a lot, because then other than that, this business can't be sustainable. If you will be you will achieve the first time you can sell the product, but to be sustainable, you need to understand that person, how this person as consumer is evolving with you as with your brand. So this is a
So
missing link.
essentially, just launching a new course in consumer insights won't solve the problem. It has to be a more holistic understanding, and the course or the program should also be more holistic in solving the problems. And one of the ways is to conduct research, but there could be other ways as well, including the things
Yes,
that we
yes.
discussed.
So if they launch a program sort of where they are telling or they're teaching, sorry, to have more relatable or the products or the services that resonates more with the consumers, consumer insights will eventually be part of it. because that is the only tool that you get to know about the consumers and how to develop the product and the service according to their
I
needs.
think that that will not just solve one problem. That eventually will also mean that the companies also need to not create a role isolated on insights only. Then that will also be sort of amalgamated into a bigger department that just focusing on consumers
Yeah.
and learning about consumers, and maybe not only focusing on the insights,
Yes.
uh, amalgamating into marketing, brands, etc.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. My final question, before and after that, I'll ask you your general opinion on this podcast as well. But my final question is that what is your suggestion to the current and future professionals working in this industry, specifically the future candidates, people who don't even know about this industry perhaps right now, or are considering or trying to understand about this industry? So would you how should they decide whether or not to be a part of this industry, and would you or would you not recommend them to join this? So there must be some pros and cons of coming into this industry, either from the client side or the consumer side. So just your general recommendations to these young professionals or students who want to pursue this.
I feel that you need to have that appetite or the certain, you know, personality traits that will help you towards throughout your journey in be it consumer insights and customer experience. One of which actually worked for me as well is to be curious about not just to have this preconceived notion that this might be the answer, to be generally and genuinely curious about knowing and to understanding the behavior and underlying needs. If you are a curious person as a in like naturally, you will try to find different solutions for the same problem. So you will be have this creative approach towards solving the customers and the brand's problem. So that is one. Other than that, like actually, if you want to see the impact coming in from your approaches, so this is fulfilling, like I'm talking about from my own experience, at sometimes extremely gratifying, because to see those actual insights um, coming in action and helping the brand and the end consumer as well. So if you look for like an impactful journey, this will also be something that will
But
excite you.
just playing devil's advocate, there's a graduate who has done very well in his or her education, and then he goes to these assessment centers and recruitment cycles. The most popular positions that everyone is talking about are marketing, the MD programs, and whatnot. If you're a technical person, you did engineering, then you will go into that domain. Why should they even consider uh, like pursuing a consumer insights or insights role? And do you think that the future of this industry looks promising enough to give these top performers the growth that they deserve?
Okay, so if this person wants to evolve as a person who knows every aspect of the business, and eventually would want to have that leadership role and want to pursue for that, and if you sort of do not want to learn how your customer is behaving and why they're behaving in a certain way, because at the end of the day that entire business is solving this customer's problem, and this department is the only department which connects you directly with that customer and creates a link between and starting the conversation with that end consumer. Hence, if the journey, if the goal is to become someone who is in a leadership position in marketing or any of the other department, has to go from actually experience some of the approaches of consumer insights.
Essentially, it even so within and different organizations, your growth, there will be more probability of your growth if you have that mindset and if you have experienced and if you understand your consumers better, so it won't harm you to go through that experience.
And you just cannot cannot have to, you should not limit yourself as being someone who will join or have this title. You can listen to the voices or to listen to the, your customers feedback at any touch point.
True.
So you just have to, you just have to be curious and have that, nature and the calling and the urge to understand the pain point. So maybe you can go and observe it in the marketplace as well. So that shouldn't be just a department, it should be the way of life.
Okay. Thank you so much, Sidra, for coming to this podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Hopefully we'll see you again in the second episode as well. But thank you so much for
Thank you,
this.
Mala.